Welcome to T2T Boxing in association with IFL TV and MGM Marbella. Here we have Lucas Big Daddy Browne. Nice to see you again, Lucas.
Yes, it's always lovely to see you, mate. Thank you.
Appreciate that. We obviously missed 10 rounds of your sparring tonight, but looks like it was going well. Everyone else seemed to have struggled as they were getting out of the ring. So how are you feeling?
Yeah. No, it was good. I had 3 different guys do basically 4 rounds each, so 1-1-1, 1-1-1, and so on. So I did the 12. It's good to see that you came for the last 2, seeing me get belted, which is great. But it would have been nice to get those earlier bit of footage.
Well,
but yeah, all going well.
We'll try and get down there earlier next time.
Nice.
What have you been working on with the guys? Have you been working on anything in particular coming up with this fight in mind?
The basic thing is I've been very strong on the fitness side and getting my weight down. But in terms of technique, he does I think he's technically orthodox, but he comes in as a southpaw, and some fights he actually fights the entire thing as southpaw. So I've got 2 southpaws in there to just make things tricky for me and hard and everything else. So it's a nice little learning curve having someone coming from a different angle, that sort of stuff.
And how, compared to other training camps you've had recently, how would you compare? So how are you feeling a week away from the fight compared to before?
Very good. The best I've felt so far has been for the Towers fight, and again I was the lightest then. I'm about 116 kilos, which was roughly what I was for then. I was about 115 for the Towers fight, so very much on track for what I want to be for this fight. I've got another week to just diet and everything else, so I'm planning on being 115 for the weight.
Absolutely. And not to look too far past it, obviously, but going into 2015, so ranked number 6 now. Getting closer and closer to that title shot. Have you got a date in mind or a time in mind where you'd like to have that title shot by, or are you just seeing how things go and taking it as it comes?
I think in terms of Hatton's plan, like the team Hatton and everything else, I'm also number 5 in the WBA. So I believe the interim title may still be up for grabs now, considering that the steroids sort of had a bit of play there. So if I can go for the WBA title, get the interim one, then obviously try and fight for the heavyweight title, then I'm mandatory straight off the bat for that. So there is 2 routes going at the moment. I'll be defending the WBC title for this fight, so that'll hopefully help those rankings. But just in general, those sort of 2 routes are where we're heading.
And another Australian in a heavyweight fight last week. Not very well covered, as we saw. But what are your thoughts on that Leopold and Scott fight? And is Scott a fight that you potentially think about? I saw you guys chatting on Twitter earlier this week.
Yeah, it was unfortunate it wasn't covered because something to do with someone had an injury, I think, and they lost main event and all that sort of stuff. So that was a bit sad in that regards for the exposure point of view. But I think Alex was just outclassed by someone who used his height and reach well. I think it was 10 rounds, 9 rounds, and 8 rounds he was given against him. Yeah. So it doesn't really seem like a fair sort of matchup. Chatted with Malik on Facebook, Twitter, just briefly, and very respectful, which I like, and more than happy to get into the ring with each other at some point, hopefully next year. Maybe even be my debut in America, which would be a good one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lovely.
And then staying on the theme of Twitter and America, a little spat this week broke out between yourself and Deontay that we may have had some small part to play in. What are your thoughts on what happened there and what was said between the 2 of you?
Mr. Wilder, it's just one of those things. He's very easy to bait and he's very easy to bite back. And fans who get on my side, he just sits there and swears and abuses and everything else. Like I think I've just sworn to abuse one person on Twitter because he was just an idiot. But that's what the block button's for. You just block them and carry on. You know what I mean? Good luck to him in his next fight. I hope he puts up a good fight against Severn, and I think very shortly he's actually going to get found out that he doesn't have the chin that he needs for a heavyweight boxer. So I hope Severn puts it on him and actually does it. But the same token, I'd like to be the first one to knock him out.
Yeah, absolutely. So a few mentions were made, obviously, about his chin and so having been knocked out in the amateurs before.
That's right. Yeah.
So he's shown he's susceptible to a big punch. And
there was also that footage of Hayes' camp.
Yeah.
And even with the headgear on and the gloves and everything else, it was just very messy, falling over himself, and Hay was collecting him and knocking him down. So he's very susceptible. Yeah.
And in terms of heavyweight scene, then Hay is rumoured to be making a comeback. He would probably look at someone like yourself as maybe a good fight for him. Coming off the back of that, he'd probably see it as a fight that he could win, obviously. You can take advantage of the ring rust, size advantage as well.
Yeah.
Do you think that'd be a good fight to make?
I think definitely. It's from an exposure point of view for me, it'd be sensational. He's a lot smaller, but faster at the same time. So you've got to sort of take it all into account. He's fought bigger boys than me. So generally, I would like it. I think it'd be a great fight for everything I need. And if he's up for it, I'm up for it as well.
Perfect. So we'll go on, put a few questions out on Twitter earlier, and a few of the fans came back and wanted to ask you a few questions. So we'll just jump into that very quickly. What have we got here? So I know one of the first questions was, in the heavyweight division, yourself aside, what sort of fights do you want to see next year?
I'd like to see something like, especially in your neck of the woods. I'd like to see Joshua and David Price. I think that'd be a good domestic fight. Price has got a lot to prove, and if you can put Joshua away, well, then he's sort of proved that. At the same time, Joshua's just coming through nicely where he should, and I think Eddie Hearn's doing an excellent job with bringing him along. And I personally think he's the future in heavyweight boxing. By the time he's sort of ready for a title shot, I think Klitschko will be gone, and it'll just be wide open. So I think you can take advantage of when that comes up. Yeah.
And you're obviously hoping that you'll be holding one of those titles by then.
100%. Yes,
absolutely. Your thoughts on his style? Do you see holes that you could take advantage of from what you've seen of Joshua so far?
He likes to fight from a distance, so I think, much like Klitschko as well, the whole distance fighting, I think someone needs to sort of get in and bully him and take him to a place he's never been before. He hasn't been 12, we don't know if he can go 12, and we don't know how good his chin is, so there's still some questions like sort of lingering over it, but I'm sure he's going to do just fine.
Yeah, absolutely, and definitely one to watch. He's got got the excitement, especially in the UK and abroad as well, starting to pick up a lot of fans, and you can see why.
And he looks the goods.
Yeah, exactly. He's certainly an athletic chap.
That's right.
So moving on, who else have we got here? Azim is a big Mundine fan, I know, and he's asked, when you met Mundine for the first time, was he different to what you expected? The sort of myth that surrounds him and the persona that's out there.
To be perfectly honest, I basically leant over, gave him a handshake and said hello when we were already sitting behind the panel at the press conference. So I think, to be honest, he was already in his sort of element of Mundine. I haven't had a chance to sort of talk to him away from that just yet, so I can't really comment on that yet.
Fair enough. Sure you have plenty of time when you're both celebrating next week.
So, yeah,
fingers crossed.
I hope so.
And another question from Azim would be, what advice would you give to someone as they're turning pro?
Basically, I think a good amateur career of some sort, or any amateur career basically, is something that you need. Whether it be 10, 25s, it's just getting in there, getting amongst it, getting that feeling and everything else before you go pro. When you do turn pro, I think you have to have a good team behind you, so a good gym, a good trainer who knows the right people and knows how to match you well. So I think matching people at the right point in time in their career is a big plus.
Yeah.
Otherwise you just end up with too many losses or draws against your name that shouldn't really happen, So definitely get a good team around you, people you can trust, and just have fun while you do it.
Perfect. I think we got one more, and then we'll let you get back to your evening. And
warming down.
That's it. It's a good warm down. And just finally, then, what's your favourite punch to throw? When you're in the ring, what's your favourite punch to throw and land?
I love throwing a nice straight right hand, or a right hand. I just say a right hand. And just watching the person's head almost twist off the other way as they fall down. That's my favourite punch. In saying that, I want it to be. I want it also to be my left hand. So I know I've got a good jab and everything else, but I want the nice left hook and the nice left body rip to come in. I would love nothing more than to drop some of the left body rip.
Well, you're working with a man who is no stranger to winning fights from that left body rip. Right. Have you been getting any tips from Ricky about those shots?
When I have worked closely with him in UK, that's obviously something we're working at, and also obviously the defence on it as well. Jeff Fennick's obviously a big fan of that sort of thing as well. Yeah. All the smaller fellas love that sort of stuff. It's great. So I have been working on it. It's just a matter of putting into practice on the night of the fight.
Perfect. Well, we'll wait and see. Next Wednesday, 1 week away.
Yep.
Any predictions? We're going to see it going around.
I think it's going to be a hard fight. I think he's going to be tricky. As I said, he's going to go left to right, and maybe even just stay lefty. So it will be tricky no matter what. He's proven he can go 12 many times. So I think he's going to rush out first, sort of put some pressure on the first 3-4 rounds, and then try and cruise for a point decision for the rest of it. So it'll be a matter of time for me to sort of pick the right times and everything else.
Absolutely, and that fight is looking like one of the hot fights of the evening. A lot of talk about it. So wish you the best of luck, mate, and we'll speak to you then.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Lucas, mate.